Well, unfortunately, I'm not surprised by her conviction and sentence. I think that the outcome was already a foregone conclusion before the trial even began. It was clear that the junta wanted to keep her out of the way, given its elections that it scheduled for 2010 and its desire to cement its military rule into the future.
It's a lesser verdict than we were anticipating. It was reported that she'd likely get 5 years in prison. This is less, isn't it?
You know, actually, well, it's not less than I was predicting. In fact, this is right about what I was expecting. You know, I think the reason is because you know, she was facing a 3 to 5 year prison term. I expected that, frankly, they would not want her to serve the time in prison, but would probably find a way to get her back under house arrest. It was apparently quite a dramatic moment in the courtroom where they gave her 3 years of hard labor, took a 5-minute recess, and then kindly came back in and read a wonderful announcement from General Tan Shui that he had kindly commuted her 3-year term imprisonment to 18 months of house arrest so that he could appear rather magnanimous. But at the end of the day, she's not guilty of anything other than having won more than 80% of the support of her people in the parliamentary elections in 1990.
You've been in contact with people there at the trial. Give us a sense of some of the color of the trial. Reporters were unexpectedly allowed into the courtroom at the last minute. Give us a flavor of what was happening, because it's so hard to know and certainly get images.
Well, I mean, obviously I'm only getting a flavor secondhand myself, but as best as I can discern, it was actually quite a brief presentation. Clearly it was like the trial itself, which was put on for show. You know, the verdict itself was also put on for show. And so, you know, I think that there was a surprise that reporters were going to be let in, and obviously there have been a great deal of thought by the junta put into how to make this appear, you know, in the best way possible for themselves. And so by giving her an 18-month sentence rather than 5 years, which frankly is consistent with what I was personally expecting, you know, they thought that they could look lenient, when in fact, of course, they're giving her extended house arrest after she spent 14 out of the last 19 years under house arrest. And in this case, the military junta had exclusive control over her compound, and she was charged with, you know, that security being breached and an American breaking into her house.
That American was sentenced to 7 years, hard labor, and Aung San Suu Kyi herself goes back under house arrest for 18 months. What happens next? I mean, do we have details of how, is it pretty much a return to the status quo? I mean, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a return to the status quo. I mean, I expected personally that whatever they would do, it would find a way to keep her out of the spotlight and out of her ability to influence the views of the people of the country until well after the 2010 elections, which are at this point looking like they're going to happen towards the end of next year. So 18 months is, conveniently enough, a perfect amount of time for her to be out of the spotlight. You know, they have had numerous excuses over the years to continue to detain her. This, unfortunately, presented them with one more. The question is not whether there'll be calls of outrage. I have no doubt there'll be that, but whether the international community will take this opportunity to actually act, not just on her detention, which is just one small symbol of the oppression of her people, but in terms of the broader situation itself.
Why are they so scared of her?
Well, I think they're scared of her because they know how popular she is. I mean, her father brought independence to the country, for which her family was adored. And in 1990, she and her allies won more than 80% of the vote in the parliamentary elections, in an election that the military junta itself thought it would actually win. And they were surprised to learn that their own people didn't find them to be so beloved. So, you know, I think that they're scared of her because they know of her popularity. Whenever she's been out of house arrest, with very little notice, she's turned out crowds of tens of thousands of people who just want to get a glimpse of her. Her renown has only increased with her being hidden from the public. And so the few times that she has gotten out, you know, people are really drawn to her personal story, to her courage, to her sacrifice, and are inspired by her example.